Hello everyone, Mark Cukro.
Bailey Draper.
Thanks for tuning in to Facebook Live. There's only 3 of us in the Academy. We've been steering clear of everybody all week except for this 1 hour. We want to get together and just have some questions and answers and maybe share some stories or insights from our Jiu-Jitsu and the way that we, run the Academy or teach or really anything. So if you could do us a favor, just let us know, say hello, like the post, or tell us who you are and where you're from. That would be great. Let's see how far we are reaching everyone in Facebook. So we did have a couple of questions, and we'll go over those in just a minute. We'd like to give everyone a minute to get onto Facebook and find a place to sit where you can watch the video. And we'll post it later, so if you have to go for any reason, we'll post it later and you can watch it. If you want to share it, it'll be available. It takes a few minutes to upload onto our timeline. Do we have anybody checking in?
Oh yeah. Jason Bodie says hello. Scott Ledoux. Dan Cope is watching.
All right. Dan, Jason, Scott, hello. Good to see you. Let's see who else is on.
Kevin Payne.
Oh, Kevin, good to see you. He's probably with Peyton too, I bet.
No.
Yeah. They've been training a lot at home. All right, if you could, as you're watching this and you're looking at us and you're waiting to get started, if you have a question, please just post a question, and then Adrian will let us know what that question is, and then we'll address it. So far, we have 2 and 1 talking point, so that we got a little earlier, and I think you got a message before we even started. So
From Jenny Von Espo.
right, okay. So yeah, we'll answer questions too if we have like a pause between the talking and the teaching and the videos. Any questions yet, Adrian?
None yet.
All right, okay. Where's everybody from? Let's give some people some shout outs and say hello. Is everybody from North Carolina? Tell us where you're from.
Bill Fisher, Dennis Wiseman, they've joined us.
Oh, good. Hello, Dennis, Bill. Good to see you guys. All right, well, while everyone's doing that, Jimmy Von Epps, I don't know if you're on here, but you posted a question moments after we stopped the last video. So we're definitely going to address the principle of hitchhiking, and we've also been asked to cover leg locks a little bit, some attacks and some common defenses, and I'll just share my thoughts on those as well too. But I'm a big fan of leg locks. I think everybody should know them, and the main concern probably from a coach's perspective is that when you do them, to do them safely with the training partners. Like any other submission, if you know how to do it, you can do it fast and safe. But if you are a little reckless with it, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our training partners. Okay, anything? Not yet? Okay, let's get started. Okay, so Bailey, can I have your foot? Okay, so when it comes to leg locks, let's look at a couple of things, and I have to just kind of give you my perspective. It depends on the rules, right? And in some competitions, reaping is not an issue. And some of them, you're not allowed to do it, and oftentimes it really depends where the point is that the ref, as a person, will decide this is too far, this is okay, this is acceptable. But I think you should know every leg lock that you can possibly add to your arsenal. So there's a couple of things, and really, I'm just gonna put my feet here, and we can start here. This one will go under, this one will go on the hip, and I'm gonna grip with my foot, pinch. Now, you'll see a lot of space here. Can you do me a favor? Can you turn your foot and pull it out? Yeah. This is what happens when you pull the foot lock like it's a guillotine choke. So I'm gonna take my gi top off for a second, just so you can see my grips. I'll put it back on. Since we have the same color gi, I wanna make sure we don't get lost. Okay. So when I have this here, if my elbow is out and my hand is facing me, I have this perfect little triangle. Take your heel and just pull it out. It comes right out. So I have to, let's get a little closer. Okay, I have to get this, pull my elbow in, and now I have to put pressure on the top of the foot. What I see a lot of people in the beginning, if you've been training a long time, I'm sure you know this, but they'll pull, just turn your toes up. We call it putting the boot on, okay? Now I have to really push all the muscles in your leg. See your body lifts? So I need to pinch, 1, 2, here. And now I use my body. However, my hands, take your foot out. are like this. And so I have a triangle actually going in the wrong direction. The triangle of my arm needs to go this way, not this way. Now I have the flat side of my bone pushing on her leg instead of the thin part, okay? So here, 1, 2, do I roll to the inside or to the outside? Yes. Okay, so pick one. It's a matter of preference. But what I need to do is put pressure on this. So I'm going to bring my hand up, hook here, and I'm going to put my elbow on the floor, and then I'm going to push my shoulder back and put my head on the floor. Now I pull this up tighter. Yep, I didn't even do it yet. Now you want to look up, because when you look up, it makes your hips tilt. And that's it. And now, of course, she has options to counter, and we'll get into that in just a second. But if I'm like this, can you feel the difference? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what most people will do is roll. And so you can go to both, yep, and now there's the leg lock right there, okay? So the idea is, you have to, just like an arm bar, you have to really secure the limb and then prevent the person's rotation. The counter to most leg locks is getting too close to the person, getting so far they can't get them, of course. Getting really close that they can't put torque on your ankle or your knee, or whoever can rotate out of it first and start to pull away. So if I have this, these are just some simple things. Scoop up here, down, and now I'm on my elbow, not like this. This is just hurts, it's annoying. Okay, so as soon as I go here, I pull, and I look up while my head's on the floor. And if you look up, this should probably tap just from that, because when you look up, your spine is arching. So that's an important consideration. And you can try this even at home. If you're like this with a leg or an ankle here, just go like this and move your hips and put your head on the floor and slide it behind you. And that extra movement in the arch of your body is what you want. Okay, so now for the counters, typically I teach.
We have a question real quick. Scott wants you to define what reaping is.
Okay, so let me define what reaping is diplomatically. Reaping is putting your leg over the center of their femur bone and over their hip. So, for example, a lot of people, and maybe not a lot, but quite enough, think that this, go to this side, will injure your knee. Okay, now it can, if she were to stand up and stop and come back, but you can feel the pressure build. Okay, so it's like anything else. If you know how to do a leg lock, it's not that dangerous. It's when you try to make up with abrupt movement for the lack of technique, usually. So now, here, if I go like this, in many tournaments, you'll be disqualified. Just depends. In some, you won't. So you have to keep your foot here and pinch, and that's where this foot really comes in. And you can just pinch them together, but here's the deal. One leg should be slightly above the other, because if your knees, you'll hear this term a lot. And it's not a new term, it's not new school jujitsu, it's very old school jujitsu. And I remember learning this principle from the beginning, but the term is like wedging or pinching, and that is when I have your leg, that I want to form some way to pry off of this and pinch and contain your legs. Now, can you move and pull your leg back? It's very difficult. If my knees are even, though, it's very easy, because if you look at your knees and you sit like this, it's very difficult to put pressure this way when your knees are equal. But when one is like this, now it's a lot easier to do. So when you clamp on the leg, try to have your knees offset a little bit, and you try it for yourself. And if it helps, do it. If it doesn't help, it doesn't matter, but it helps me personally. So, Scott, I hope that answers. So let's just redefine this again. Reaping is over the leg. Not reaping is right here before the hip, usually right on the outside of the center of the femur bone. And then, of course, you have the leg lock. So that's more like, how do I word this? Rule-specific jujitsu. So if you train jujitsu for a set of rules, you should do that, right? If you train jujitsu for, like you're not really concerned with the rules, and you might compete in different rule sets, well then you should learn how to reap the leg and how to do it correctly. And then if you can't, don't. But when you put those movements in your muscle memory, sometimes it's tough not to do that. So that's the challenge.
Mike Corhan joined us.
Hello, Mike. Good to see you.
Dennis Wiseman asked, do you feel most injuries from leg locks come from poor escape attempts as opposed to the submission application itself?
Okay, Dennis, I know Dennis likes leg locks too, so thank you for asking that question. So let me make sure I got it right. Do I feel that most injuries on leg locks come from the application of the leg lock itself or from people escaping? And if that is correct, my answer is both. And if I know how to put a leg lock on, just like an arm bar, if you're my training partner, I'm gonna let go before I injure you and say you should have tapped. And I think that is something that we really should do in the first place. But if Bailey has a lot of knowledge in leg locks, and she grabs my ankle and I have no idea what to do and I freak out and I twist and move the wrong way, I'm gonna hurt my leg, or my knee or my ankle. Now, if I just learned a leg lock, and I don't really care about technique and securing the limb, and I just pull and twist as much as I can, and someone's knee pops, well, that happens. So it's really both of those, which is why some coaches wait until later on in someone's jiu-jitsu career to teach them leg locks. But leg locks is a really good equalizer, but if you miss leg locks, you very often give up a really good position in that process. So you have to be cautious of that too. Which is why some instructors would prefer you to develop a good guard and then learn leg locks, because if you just start going for feet, you may not spend enough time on your guard or in your passing. And so that's kind of a matter of preference. I hope that answers, Dennis, but I appreciate that question.
Someone asked to see a toe hold.
Toe hold, okay. So can you put your head here, please? All right, yep. Okay, scoot this way a little bit, please. Okay, so there's lots of ways to get the toe holds, and I'll do these a couple. Let's move a little closer, please. All right, and slide this way, so you slide over this way, right there, perfect. Okay, so I have Bailey in cross-side, and I like to do this a lot, and I can start pushing this knee, yeah, and the person will lift, and then I grab their foot. So what I do is I bring my knee under and I push, and then I grab this, and in we go. And now you can, of course, put your foot over too, right? But what happens is when I lift this, yeah, the person will, you almost, not always, but very often do this. I grab, this goes in, I roll my wrist out as I pull this in, and now I'm gonna pull the foot and push the ankle with my arm, yeah. And I will usually put my head down so I don't get, yeah, I don't want to get kneed in the face. So this will be here, and then I pull and I hip in at the same time. So that's one. There's a couple of them. Put your back right here. Scoot this way a little bit. Okay, so get on your side and face that way. Sometimes I'll be like this and the person is kind of in a cradle position, reverse if you want, and I will go here and grab, just like this. Now if my arm is under their knee, like this, I can go from one, bring this knee in, two, and then there's a knee bar. So, it depends. Now for me to do that, your leg has to be on top of my arm, or my arm has to be under. So, I hope that answers. I don't know if it does. Who asked that question? Was that Scott?
That was Tyrion Scott.
Tyrion Scott, hello, good, so please, while you're on this, let me know if that is something that addressed your question, or if we missed it a little bit. I want to make sure that your time was well spent. And I can go over those again if you like.
Nancy Adard made a statement saying heel hooks seem to be the most dangerous submissions in the leg locks, and she asked for your opinion on that.
Yeah, they are, pretty much, because they're twisting. So can you switch spots with me, please? Okay, let me have your legs. All right, how come? So let's start here first. So just give me your foot. So if your leg is straight and you twist it, it's not that big of a deal, okay? So all of the movement will go to your hip, you'll have a little on your knee. As soon as you bend this now, all of the ligaments in your knee get torque against the weight of your body, which should be a lot heavier than the bottom half of your leg. So when you get heel hooks, and you can put them on super fast and safe, right? This is kind of the whole concern with leg locks is like any submission, you can put it on fast and be careful. What you can't do is put it on fast and be reckless or not really have precision in your movement. So, I don't know, so this will go here, all right? Now, in gi, most tournaments you can't really use heel hooks. Back in the day, you could do pretty much whatever you wanted. So you'll have this foot come over and go under this leg, right? And now you have all sorts of heel hooks and everything. A lot of the pressure comes from this. Now, this is what we talked about, Nancy. Slowly, if you sit up on your elbow, yeah, you don't really want to. If you're doing that as I'm pushing down, that's where a lot of the pressure on the knee comes from. Because now this is dual purpose in the assignment of accountability of this. So if she pulls away and I turn at the same time, it could injure her knee. However, if I'm like this and I just fall, now it's harder for her unless I twist this. And because you have rotation and arch at the same time, it can easily damage your leg because they're not designed to be twisted and have a lot of pressure put on them. So it's kind of like a wrist lock in the same way, is that when you twist it, it's not really supposed to go that way. It's really the weakest motion for that joint. Your elbows are the same way too, which is why a Kimura that you twist is much worse than one that you just bend. And so, Nancy, I hope that helps a little bit, but if you learn to put leg locks on slow and smooth and fluid with caution and precision, then you do them fast, it's very unlikely someone's going to get injured. But if you just are so concerned with tapping the person and you don't care, I mean in training partners, and you don't really care what you have to do, you're probably going to injure a lot more training partners, and then you won't have any. So I hope that helps.
Dennis Wiseman asked from the opposing end, he's like, isn't it true that there's less pain receptors in the knee?
Yeah, so thank you, Dennis. See, Dennis, and by the way, for those of you that don't know Dennis is an encyclopedia of Jiu-Jitsu knowledge, so thank you very much. I've known him for a long time. And kind of a comparison or an observation that I like to make with joint locks, of course, is the smaller the joint, the more it feels pain and the more sensitive it is. So the really heavy load-bearing joints like your knees and your hips and your shoulders don't really feel pain as much as your toes and your thumbs and your ankles. Like for example, tell me if you've done this. I suspect you have. You walk through your house in the middle of the night and you have a furniture finder on the end of your toe, your foot, that little pinky toe. And when you kick a piece of furniture, oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Now how come if you're walking into the same piece of furniture and you bump your knee, it doesn't hurt? So typically the smaller the joint, the more sensitive it is to pain and manipulation. So yeah, definitely your knees don't receive pain nearly as much as the smaller joints, for sure.
Chad Pucci asks if you could show the knee bar from turtle when you're on the bottom.
Okay, so yes, all right, so come over your belly. So we're gonna turn this way slightly. Can you put your one knee over? Okay, so Chad, let us know if this is the one you're talking about, so you can put your hand on my head, whatever you want, okay? So what do I need for this? Let's just open our knees for a sec, sit up. My leg is on the inside of hers, and I have some options too if they put, for those of you, yeah, that would say, oh, I would never do that, and you do this, there's a million leg locks here too, so don't, but we're gonna address Chad's question, okay? So the foot is all the way over, you get tight, and I'm like this, and now look, my toes are up, so I have base. What I don't want is my toes down, so I get broken down and pulled to the side. So here, underneath, and kick, here. Now, you have 1, 2, some people will do this, as long as the knee is facing her body. Now her toe is that way a little bit, so I would fall and get it this way. This is even better, because that's like a heel hook and a knee bar. So the practice for you to do this at home, especially now, because you're probably going to be home for a little while, is this here, kick your leg, and then triangle, or wind up like this. So one more time, that's the knee bar. And we'll give you a view on the other side. Come here, Bella, please. We'll face this way a little.
Sorry.
Yep, okay. So here, over, kick. I like to grab the heel, bend your leg. Now I have to do other things, right? So if I'm here, just now bend your leg. It's much harder. Here, here, pull, and hit. I like to do this if you can because I can bridge off the floor. If I have to roll, I'll roll, and then do it that way. So those are some, is that good?
The correct one, that's one you wanted, yeah.
Okay, good, Chad. Thank you for asking. Did you say hello? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. We know Chad, that's why. What else do we have? Anything else?
Nothing right now. We had one the other day asking about testing.
Testing.
Why we test.
Okay, so let me put my gi on for this one. All right. And to everyone that has just recently joined us, thank you for watching. I know, true or false, you're in your mind thinking, I can't wait to get back to training. We got to be safe though, and minimize the risks. And when the time to return comes, Jiu-Jitsu will be growing faster than ever. I absolutely 100% believe that. I know it's going to happen. So testing. So did anyone in particular answer that, or have you scrolled past the questions?
That was the other day.
The other day. Okay, so a question about testing. So like, should you test, or do I believe in testing? So let me just say this. If you do something different, wonderful. I'm not trying to start any kind of tension, but this is my opinion, and I'd like to explain my opinion and my reasons why. So in the beginning, sometimes people are accustomed to no stripes, here's a belt. As your school grows and you start to really understand that you need to be organized, because students will ask you, hey coach, what do I do for the next belt? Don't ever ask about belts. Okay, first, that's ridiculous, okay? If you ever get that answer, I don't even know what to say. We're coaches, and our job is to tell you what you need to do to reach your goals. I mean, I can't think of, that's like, imagine doing that in any other kind of sport. Hey, I want to win a football game. Don't ask how, just go out and show up. I mean, come on, you know, so now you don't ask with a sense of entitlement, right? Like, hey, am I due? Wow, I deserve one. Please don't say that, but what do I need to do? And so there's a couple of things from an instructional perspective that I think is very important. If you get 10 blue belts in a room, and you ask all of them at the same time, what did you have to do to earn your blue belt? And they all look at each other, and you get like several different answers. We need to work on that, okay? So the purpose of your blue belt is to develop really good, solid fundamentals from static movement that, and all of the details and the body movements and mechanics that will last you for your entire jiu-jitsu career while you're learning basic self-defense. So it's not uncommon for advanced belts really not to know how to shrimp. And I can tell a difference. And we've been training together for a while. I can immediately tell the difference from someone that spent time on fundamentals and someone that didn't but is athletic, right? So what the testing does is it gets everybody on the same page. And you're like, okay, we have this many moves, this many sweeps, this many escapes. And now, at the same time, testing makes some people nervous, which is, you know, I mean, that's a legit concern, but it's also part of the process. And what I find is sometimes people will defend how my teacher knows where I am. Well, I have 200 students. Last year I promoted 49 blue belts. I mean, you have to have some organization and test it. Now, there are going to be different degrees of skill, knowledge, and execution in all of those, but you really have to know the fundamentals. Don't be in a rush. The white belt's probably the shortest belt you'll have. In most cases it is. But now I know that everybody knows how to shrimp, escape cross-side, get out of the mount, get out of the back mount. They know weapon self-defense, standing self-defense. So they know how to get out of a headlock. They know how to clinch when someone's punching and kicking at them. For basic people, the blue belt is against an unskilled population. After that, it's skill versus skill set. So when you're testing, it's really important to understand and have someone evaluate your fundamentals. And I can tell you personally, I've driven hours to have people like Master Pedro Sauer or Master Hickson Gracie say, turn your foot this much. Or a gentleman, John, I remember I visited, drove hours, him and Mike, good friends of mine, taught me a lot about Jiu-Jitsu. And he just said, move your foot, and it changed my whole game. Shift your shoulders this way, changed my whole game. But if you don't train out of your comfort zone, you may not discover something that really could benefit you. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is like, Bailey wants you to do sweeps. We have 19 sweeps. And you go, I don't like sweeps. I'm like, well, you gotta do them. Well, that's not my game. And then you do them for 6 months, and you still say, it's not my game, I don't like them. 2 years from now, it comes out in your game and you're like, I don't know what happened, but now you're a sweeping machine. So I think those are many of the benefits of testing. So I am 100% for testing in the beginning. When you get halfway through your belts, maybe like after blue, purple, brown, then it kind of comes up to like making your own paintings with your brush, because Michelangelo and Rembrandt were brilliant artists, but they paint very differently, but they both know how to use paint and use a brush. And that's kind of my approach to testing on Jiu-Jitsu. So I hope that answers your question, but that's my opinion on it.
Ken Tran just joined us.
Hello, Ken, good to see you. Ken's up in Kentucky.
Ohio.
Ohio, I'm sorry. Scott is in Kentucky.
Leg lock defenses.
Leg lock defenses, okay. So let's work on this, okay? So let's put me in a basic ankle lock on this side so nobody can see just yet. Yep. So figure 4 your arms. Yep, put this here, squeeze. You can roll that way. Yep, you can roll this way. Yeah, whatever you want to do. Okay, so there's a couple of things, and they seem really simple, but we're gonna first go over kind of the bread and butter ones, and then I'll go over just a couple of more. So turn this way a little bit so everybody in the camera can see. Pinch. Yeah, so this I have to, of course, and you'll hear this, people say put the boot on. If you have a gi, you can grab the gi, you can grab the neck, you can grab the arm, you can grab here. This is an important thing to do, and sit right on the leg. Come up. And then you get into this position. Okay, so come over here a little bit. So I'll do that again. And then we'll get into some other ones, but this is a very simple one. Yeah, so look, I can just peel the foot off. Go ahead, put me ankle lock, please. And I just hold the head. This, boy, let me tell you, this helps a lot. This is just gonna buy you time until you can move. And now I put my foot here. Bring that leg back in. Not so much, yeah. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Right in, okay? So as soon as you bring this foot in, it's a lot harder. And of course, if you're watching this and you say, well, I would do something else, of course. You know, there's, the counters in Jiu-Jitsu are endless, okay? So come on this side, please, and do the same thing. Yeah, okay. You good? Go ahead, go ahead. Yep, fall, yep. Hug the person nice and tight, sit, yep. There you go. So that's one, and that goes back to the principle of getting too close or getting too far. What you don't want to do is try to really spin out unless the person's putting in a leg lock that's rotational, right? So if you grab my ankle again, what I don't want to do is spin this way while my heel is going the opposite way. So if she goes this way, it's easier for me to go this way, but it's also easier for her. So sit back up, please. Grab the leg. Sit this way. It's easier for me to do this and run, but she still has my foot. So you have to figure out very quickly where your power is, and it's gonna be you getting close here. Hold on. Yeah, here, up, and then you can pass. Hold on, please. Yep. Go ahead, push. Push. This is where your grips are gonna buy you time. Push, push, push. Down you go. Now go ahead, lift your knee back up. A lot of people will push you that way. That's okay too. Push, 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 push. Right into the mount. So, the big thing is, if they grab your ankle, I know it's uncomfortable, I'm sorry. Okay, so here, this is probably the most common one, pinch. Because now they can't extend themselves. But if you're in no-gi and you're sweaty, it's a little bit harder. Cup the elbow if they don't have a sleeve. Go ahead. Pull, 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 pull. Yeah, so now I have to move, I have to get up, I have to push. So there's a million of these. What you don't want is a person have your ankle and arch. Now, in no-gi, it's a little different because people tend to triangle the leg and then roll and hook the heel on the bottom of the roll. And, well, that could lead us into like an entire seminar, but I'll give you kind of an idea. The thing is if you have someone that's really good at leg locks and you don't know them, you're probably going to get caught a lot more than if you know the basics. But the thing is too, is you don't ever play into someone else's strength. You try to exploit their weakness or their opportunities. So what I mean by that, give me your leg please, is you'll see a lot of this kind of approach in what people call modern leg locks, and they'll roll this way. Yeah, and they get the ego here. Yep, and now I have it right here. Okay, and it can go this way too. Here, same thing, it'll go this way. And now, yeah, keep going. Stop. Okay, so I move my body. Yep, okay. And so, yeah, right? So, because you're so slick in no-gi, you typically, it helps to triangle your legs over their leg and then start isolating the foot. In the gi, it'll slow you down a little bit, but honestly, if you do gi only, you should do no gi. If you do no gi, you really should put a gi on too, because Jiu-Jitsu is Jiu-Jitsu. The only thing that really changes is the friction and the grips, depending on whether you have a gi or not. So that's my input on that.
Kevin Payne asked, what are some good sweeps from butterfly guard?
Okay, so what are good sweeps from butterfly? Okay, so come here please. So it really depends on the context, face me please, of what you're doing. Number one is, are you allowed to punch me in the face? Okay, so you may want to sometimes, but if the answer is yes, it does change things, which is where you'll see a lot of butterfly, grabbing the shoulder, pulling in. It just really depends on what you're doing. What I really don't want to do though is sit here and be completely in front of the person. And I can do this here. I can change my grips like this. I can push and pull, lift. And what I want to do is get your hips uneven. So even if you get this leg off, as long as it's, yeah, you're going to move. Okay? So come here. An important thing, a concept with sweeps, come here please, is I have to vacate where I want you to occupy. Okay? So if I'm here, you can't land on me because I'm here. So I need to not be here. So if I'm like this here, you can grab this way if you want and then start working on that. You can grab here and move. I need to get out of the way. And now this toe goes from here to toes alive, we call it. Here, grab, pull, and now you have. And that's a very basic butterfly sweep. A couple of others that I like from this position. So sit up off your knees for a second, towards me. Right here, is I like to take this foot and put it here, and then pass. And that's one of my favorite surprises. So come here, please. So most people do this and they kind of sit back. I'll put my foot here, and then I just pull right into the pass. So I hope that answers a little bit, Kevin, but you should really spend a lot of time, in my opinion, learning first escapes, right? And counters and defense. Then after you're pretty good at getting out of everything, you should really start learning how to sweep people. And that's kind of the next stage is, okay, I can get it. Because what happens is, true or false, and you tell me, be honest, disagree if you do, but if you really do, but do most people ask how to get out of cross-eyed?
Everybody asks.
Everybody asks. Like, what's the number one question? Who has a question? How to get out of cross-eyed? So first, let's start there, right? How do you get out of the mount? How do you get out of cross-eyed? How do you get out of the back mount? And then you start the sweeps and all of the really kind of Jiu-Jitsu that's going to reverse everything in your favor. Because if you look at Jiu-Jitsu from a self-defense perspective, you got to get up and run. It's not get up and beat up the other person, unless you have to. It's get up and run. Now, if you can't get up, then you have to sweep the person or get out and then decide to stay there or leave. So it really kind of depends on your goal in Jiu-Jitsu. If it's sportive, who cares? You can sweep back and forth all day long. But if you need to get up and leave the area, then it does change the way you look at things a little bit. So I hope that answers a little bit, Kevin, of your question.
Jason Bodie asks, what are some of the concepts from Pedro Sauer that have changed your game?
Okay, so what are the questions from Master Pedro Sauer that changed my game? So I don't know if you're watching Master Pedro, but very often he is. Number one, thank you for sharing your Jiu-Jitsu with me, and so I can pass it on. I appreciate it. the concepts really are to stop trying to, so there's kind of a couple, and I just phrased them into my own verbiage, but do you want to be in position or do you want to be in a position? And you have to know when to use force and know when to yield from force to redirect it, to reuse it. So, and the other thing is a lot of hitchhiking and slingshotting from the person's energy. And when all people do is charge, it's a lot easier to get them to run into something that they shouldn't have. It's when people are skilled and they know when to charge and be cautious, man, that's something else. And the other thing that Master Pedro really emphasizes is the connection to the person's body. And a lot of times that is something that you can't see, like the use of frames, using your footwork, and using your feet as like an extra set of hands. I think he calls them leg hands, but is all of these little things. So I'll do a sweep, it's called the Hitchhiker Sweep, and it was based off of, I don't know, something I learned many years ago, but I started to use this principle and it's really helped me a lot. Okay, so can you stand up? And I'll be glad to break this down in the future if you want. So let me just have your sleeves. We'll kind of put a sportive approach on this. I'm here, I push, pull, I pull here, and I drop this leg. Come to your left knee, please. I turn this arm, I lift, and then I hitchhike right here, and I come right over on the top. And then I have the sleeves, and now I have my body. Hold, can you turn into me, please? It's very difficult. Even though, look, she has a good frame. Her foot's past her body, and it's still difficult to move. So let's go to a couple of others, okay? So we're gonna do the same thing from this side now, okay? So now Bailey, you figured out my tricks, okay? So now I have to make more tricks. And I don't mean tricks, I mean like techniques and tactics. So we're gonna do the same thing. I go here, and Bailey goes to her knee, but she puts her arm around my head. All I have to do is pull this down, lift, and come right over. And then you can get that position. So it's a lot of, come back down, please. Yep, here, pull, and I'm driving off of this foot as I lift. Now watch, she's falling, I hook on, and then I just hitchhike the energy. So those are a lot. Now come back. If you stand up because you sense it, then I go here, and then you have a sweep there. So a lot of that is hitchhiking. The last one is being connected. And I don't mean connected like bolted onto the person. Connected so you can feel the person's energy, and then every time the person drives into you, you either have to yield that movement to give yourself an advantage, or know when to put your toes up and frame and base into your feet, so the person is moving into a structure, not into your muscles. And frames and basing will make you feel really strong. But if you're really strong, it doesn't always make you feel like you have a good frame. So I hope that helps. That was a question from Jimmy too last week. We missed that one. But Jason, I appreciate you asking that question. Do we have any more?
Nothing coming in right now.
Okay. Now, I know I say this all the time, and I highly recommend you guys do this. Take notes. I can show you my notes years after years. I typed them up, I organized them, I put into books, and now they're references. But when you learn to organize your thoughts, it's easier to remember things in patterns and systems and programs. And that's why you'll see a lot of people with programs and systems. And all it is the Jiu-Jitsu is not new. None of it is. Ask anyone who's been training a long time. I don't think I've seen a technique that was completely foreign for a very long time. It happens once in a while, and people, as they come in, will believe that they've rediscovered or discovered something, and it's just an adaptation or two similar thought processes that approach the same thing a little different. But when you can organize things and organize your training and make combinations and connections, it will take you a lot further in your Jiu-Jitsu. Then you have 12 options instead of just 2. But if I had to choose between mastering 12 options or 2, I'd probably pick 2 and be amazing at those 2 while I work on the other 10, instead of being mediocre at 12. And the other thing is, like, if you train at an academy, and this is my opinion, a good academy, and there are plenty that are good, there are plenty amazing academies, and I mean amazing academies. I travel all over the country, I do seminars, I speak at business conferences, and I teach Jiu-Jitsu seminars. And I know well, let me ask you, I'll put you on the spot. How many seconds does it take when you walk into any business to feel welcome or unwelcome?
5 to 10?
5 to 10 minutes or seconds?
Seconds.
Seconds. Okay. It's the same with your academy. If someone walks into your academy and they're like, man, people were attentive. Hello, it's nice to see you. I'm so glad you're here. Come on in. All of a sudden you're at ease. A healthy academy culture, to me, is one that has open communication, organization. The goals are clear cut. There's no favoritism. There's no politics. You show up, you put in the work, you meet the guidelines, you test, you pass, you get promoted. If you don't, you don't, right? And never make achievements personal. You can make them personal to yourself, but don't take them personal when a coach is giving you feedback or advice or things to improve on. And I see people, and I've gotten discouraged in jiu-jitsu too. I mean, really, I have. But at some point you're like, okay, am I being really a little ridiculous about this? Am I being mentally flexible and coachable? I've been to academies when I travel, and people are like, oh my goodness, dude, come on in, man, let's train. You want to teach? And I love to do that when I travel. I'll be a guest instructor somewhere. And I let, whenever people travel and they come, I just check out who they are. And man, I would love to have you come and teach. I would love to go to another place and teach and just share each other's knowledge. Now, are you encouraged to train with other people? Yeah, right? And I'm being honest, I don't want you to look at her facial expressions too. Have you ever been told, don't go train somewhere else, that's not how we do it?
No, never been told that.
No. How would you feel if I had like this cult-like mentality where it was maybe unspoken or taboo, but you couldn't go train anywhere else?
Suspicious.
It's suspicious. Let me tell you, there's no benefits. There's no magic waiting to be discovered in jiu-jitsu. The magic is showing up every day, putting in the work, listening to your coaches, taking the feedback, putting in all the work, respecting your teachers. I've been with Master Pedro for, I don't even know how long now. I'd have to figure it out, but a long time. And I can't even imagine going to someone else. And now sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and we understand that too, but to really benefit from a coach, you need to spend a lot of time with them. And if you have a healthy academy, that's easy. There's no big egos, there's nobody trying to like injure people, because we're training partners. Now, if you get me in a sweep, do you think I'd be mad or tell you good job?
Good job.
Good job. That was awesome. And sometimes I'm like, oh, that was nice. That was a good job. And that's how it should be. So don't take things like that personal. But also, if you're a student, in my opinion, you should always be able to talk to your coach and say, I would like some feedback to know what I need to do to get to the next level, whatever that is. Now, at the same time, you need to be able to take the advice, be coachable, take the corrective action, do what they ask you, and be able to be okay with that. And sometimes when your coach says, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing, that's what you do. That's what they need. So just continue to keep showing up. And sometimes I would ask, hey, professor, what do I need to work on? Just keep showing up, man. Just keep doing what you're doing. What's hard today is easy tomorrow. And I would ask Mike, and I would ask John, and all the people I look up to and I train with, and they would be like, man, just keep showing up. And sometimes that is the answer. So you have to be okay with that too. There's not always some deep answer. So I hope it helps.
Suzanne's watching.
Suzanne, hello. My amazing wife, Suzanne, who puts up with all my training, and she encourages it. Thank you very much. I can't imagine life without it or her.
Ken Tran asks, what are some good guards for short-legged jiu-jitsu players? And then Chaz followed up with triangle chokes for people with short, stocky legs.
Okay, so a couple things. If you have short legs, I have short legs. Put your knees up, Bailey. Let's do this. We do this all the time, okay? Sitting down, I'm taller than Bailey. Standing up, she's much taller than I am. Her beam is there's a big difference, right? So I would probably not do as many triangles as Bailey. And I'll give you some ideas.
Bailey.
But, what's that?
That's a Bailey.
As Bailey. The Bailey, right? But, and I know Ken, so if you have short legs, you got to know how to use them. And I would use them more as posts and to get reaction and things to drive off of and move from. So can you switch sides to me, Bailey, real quick? Okay. So just hop in my guard for a second. If you have short legs, I don't think this is a possibility for everybody. It's just not, okay? Let's move closer this way a little bit. All right. Now, If you can't get your legs around the person, sit on your side and now put them in the guard, because now the oval space between my legs is going in this more of the same direction as their body. So if I can't reach like this, I can very often reach like that. Hand in the collar or the sleeve, 2 hands on 2 sleeves, and then start pinching and using these as posts to push off of and drive off of and start to move and then keep tension at all times. What I wouldn't want to do is have my legs loose, push them open, and now I say, well, I got short legs, right? So if you got short legs, they got to be busy the whole time. You should be, when someone's in your guard, let me just say this. You should be attacking the person so much that they're like, okay, this is a bad decision. I shouldn't have gotten here, and I don't have a moment to sit still. Now, with triangle chokes with people, taking your belly, the main thing, if you can see my spine, is on this line here, okay? What I have to do is, see how my spine and her spine are aligned? It's no good for me. I need to go this way. So what I have to do is get sideways. Now I'm going to give you a couple of other ideas too, especially when it gets stacked. If my toes are like this, can you just sit up please? My whole body comes off because I have all the weight on this half of my body above my waist. The minute I turn this foot up and I pinch, now lift. It's heavier, yes? Mm-hmm. This leg is going to follow, so when you go up and I let you up, I have to go and go after you faster than you can get away, okay? So what I can't do, go ahead, is go like this. I have to lift with you and then get this. If I'm here, it's very difficult and then you have to move. So now let's do this. Turn around please. Put me in the guard, okay? Belly has, scoot this way. Look, she can reach from here. Go ahead. Look, there's no way I can do that. So you have to really kind of understand, if you have short legs, to me a triangle is a gift. Now you can do legless triangles, and the percentage is a little bit lower. Like here's an example, okay? So here, and you just hold this way. Lift your head for a sec. Here, like this. And then you can hold too, pull your arm out. This is going to be difficult, and I have to turn my toes up, but it'll work. But the thing is, I know it's awful, but here's the thing, Ken especially, if you have short legs and you go for a triangle choke and it's not 100% there, you probably gave up your back, or a cross side at least. So I like triangles, but if you have short legs, you should wait for the gift of a triangle, not try to force it so much. So the other thing is, when your spine is aligned with the person, turn a little bit, and you can probably wrap your feet around them better, and then start to get the angles. But if you're small and short, you should be learning how to roll and sweep like a broom and get out from the bottom, because you have the ability to move in smaller spaces, so you should be able to get under the person easier. So if you're a short person with short legs, I think that's the way to go. Don't get on the bottom, learn how to get out. Anything else?
No, right now.
Okay, so I had a question come up, and it was before, so we posted we were doing this yesterday, and I got a couple of messages before, so they're not coming in on this feed, but we can post them and answer them. And that was, what's an example of you using Jiu-Jitsu in real life? And there's no perfect answers for anything, but the thing that Jiu-Jitsu will teach you, especially if you're an adult, considering putting your children in Jiu-Jitsu, Jiu-Jitsu teaches you how to genuinely test everything that you learn in a very appropriate and respectful way. So if your teacher says, I want you to do this, and they go, I don't think it'll work, the most common answer, let's find out, in a good, healthy way, right? Okay, so you're encouraged to challenge everything that you have learned in a real way, in a good way, in a healthy, positive way. Now, the flip side of that too is, if you talk to people that train, and this is, again, is my opinion, 100%, when you start training Jiu-Jitsu, you get all of that anger and that frustration and that stress out, and you go home and you're in a better mood. And then you may have to actually get questions like, well, you keep going to training. Yes, I do. And man, let me tell you, I feel so much better. But now when the person cuts me off in traffic, I don't get mad as much. Instead of kind of getting really upset, I'm like, that was a That was a good one. Nice move. Now, you don't do that every single time, of course. We know that, but the more you train, the more calm you are when things don't go your way. And it could be at work too. Like we talk about posture in Jiu-Jitsu, right? I'll give you an example. Come here. Because you have physical posturing and social posturing. Put me in the guard. Okay. Feet on. Okay, do some crunches. This should be easy for me. I shouldn't even stress my voice. If you don't learn to do this, you're never gonna pass the guard. You're gonna get broken down, swept, they're gonna start grabbing your sleeves, your arms, your collar, yep. They're gonna come up for upa sweep, yeah, everything, right? It's no good. So it's the same thing socially. People will posture. And the thing is, socially, when people see you get nervous and react, they're gonna make it worse. When someone socially sees you not reacting, like, I don't think you wanna do that, man. Let me go buy you something. You know what? Dinner's on me. It's okay, you're right, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to come across that way. Now the person has nothing else to impose upon you. So you can learn to really deal with things in a much more calm way. And when people do say terrible things, very often now I just smile and I'm like, okay, take good care, and that's it. So you don't always have to engage in every disagreement or conflict.
Steve Adornato asked, how do you like to break posture from closed guard?
Okay, Steve. All right. How do you break posture from closed guard? A couple of ways. Okay, so let's get this way. Natalie, please. So I'll start this way so you can see the alignment of us, okay? So if I'm here, get good posture. I should be able to do crunches. Yeah, look, this is easy. I can do this all day, right? Okay. So now, that's because our spines are aligned. So what I have to do is move a little bit, and now it's very easy to break the posture. If I allow her to stay in alignment, then I'm going to suffer while I'm stuck in her good posture. The other thing is I'm going to pull with this arm until it's tight, and I grab under the sleeve, and I push down, and now I have posture. And then you can break. So as long as you get on an angle, the other thing I did is I want you to watch this knee. Before, as I move, and I move that knee open. Now, posture is broken. So those are some ideas, but what the person needs in the guard, when they're in the guard, is to have good posture so you can't move them. And typically your bodies have to be aligned, kind of parallel in some way. So the more one of you can get perpendicular, the easier it is to break that posture or tilt one side, which now you broke it. So those are probably the most common ways, and then reciprocation of your muscles too. So up my guard for a second, right here. And I do this a lot. You can do this, I got this principle from doing arm bars. Hold, look, that's it. And it just, a person's muscles are not meant to reciprocate. And as simple as that is, it's really effective. So thank you for asking that, Steve. We have time for like one more or two more.
Jan asks, how do you get out of mount if the person on top is really heavy?
Okay, who is this?
Jan, little Jan.
Jan, okay. Jan's one of our students. Yeah, he's about half my size, and the kid's a little nightmare. He's a backpack. He's a little nightmare on the mat. But I have a feeling you like to do that to your sister, Jan. I don't know, but let's see. Okay, so let's start with a couple of frames. First off, let me take this off so you can see. But again, this comes to weight distribution, right? Which is one of the things that Master Sauer emphasizes all the time. We emphasize everyone I've ever talked to that I really look up to, you know, Greg Nelson, Rylan Lazarus, Mike Warhan, all those guys that train a lot, and I could go on and on and on. There's many gifted and talented people that I've trained with over the years. They all basically say the same thing as get really good at frames and make the side you want to get out of light, right? Okay, so can you get me in the mount, please? All right. So my elbows are here. What I don't want is high elbow. Like I don't want this. So I have to turn my hands and move. Now, okay. So now I'm going to block this. Slide your knees up. I'm pushing off my feet a little bit. Push my elbows, pull them. It's not going to happen. So now here. And now this elbow connects to this part of the hip. This is here, and I put all the weight on one leg. Now put me in the mount. Yeah, exactly. And then there you go. Okay, so the idea is with the frame is, let me just stay here for a sec. if I'm like this and my frame is a little crooked, they just push you over and take your back. That's why you get your back taken. The frame has to be perfectly across the pelvis or the hips. Now, I have no weight here, but I have a support, and I need to get weight on it. So I take this foot and I walk it out, turn this, and I push all the weight here. Now the weight is over this bone. This leg is light, this one's heavy, and at the same time I do that, I move. And now the weight is here. What I don't want is my frame to get bent down, so I bring my knee in, and then I turn and I frame again, and do the same thing. So, Jayan, I hope that answers your question, young man. And let me tell you, kids like you and your sister and all the other kids we train, we need more people like you in the world, my friend. Kids that show up, put in the work, they're coachable, the parents encourage them no matter how they do in tournaments and competitions, if they do them at all. And it's really nice to have people like you at the academy that ask questions, especially at your age, and you're just eager and willing to change. So thanks for tuning in, and tell your parents we said hello.
Got time for one more?
Got time for one more.
Sweet. Jimmy asked if you could discuss your favorite knee on belly escape.
Yeah, okay, so, Jimmy, all right. So there's a couple of ways to do this, but I want to explain the principle and then why I do things a certain way. Okay, so, can you get me a knee and belly? All right. So, put your toes on the ground first. Okay, just like this. Yeah, I know you don't do that because I tell you not to do it. Can you move this foot back so people can see? See how her foot is on the ground? I don't really think, in my opinion, you shouldn't really do this. Because where's your weight?
On the ground.
I'm not even straining my place. Yeah, you don't even like it, all right? So, go ahead. Now, we'll get into this a little bit, but when the foot is on the floor, all you do is drive off of this foot and pull. Go ahead, push, grab my collar, whatever you want. Yeah, pull, make it terrible. Yeah, look. I'm gonna bring this one in, and now, now I have this pinched, and I can turn in or turn out, okay? So, what happens when the person rides here? So put your foot on here, like this. Yeah, a lot of times I like to do this here, and grab, and now over, and then change. Okay, let me do that one more time for you, Jimmy. Okay, I do this all the time, man. So yeah, good, I'm gonna go here and grab any kind of cloth, even if it's the thigh, and I just walk in a circle. Now I fall, and I block this leg, the femur, and I switch my base on the floor. What I don't want to do is this, and risk guard recovery. Recover? No good. Okay, go back. So when I'm like this here, leg here, move, and now I go underneath the femur, and then they can't recover the guard. The other thing with knee on the belly, one more, is I'm going to make the classic mistake. It's probably on everybody's curriculum there is. Don't push the knee. Hook my arm, please. Step over, arm bar. Yeah. Okay, so the reason that happens is because I used one hand. Same thing, please. Okay. Now do it. Exactly, and I'm pinning this to my leg. I'm gonna even stick my hands out worse. Put me in an arm bar. Come on. Do the same thing that you did. You don't want to, do you? So as long as you have two hands in, it's much, now could she go for this arm? Of course, and that's where this one comes in. Go ahead. Yep. And now you're gonna wind up getting out, recovering. Yeah, you do whatever you want here after that. Yep. So the idea is, if you use one, you gotta watch how you move. If you have two, she still has options, or he, whoever you're training with, but it's a lot harder to get across the person's body when they have two on you. But that one where you grab the legs, let me do this without your belly for a sec, please. Is Jimmy, I'm gonna go here, hold the tail of the lapel, the belt, the gi, the pants, hook the thigh, and walk like this. And then the person falls over, lay on the leg, put this leg under theirs, and then right back into cross-side. So I hope that helps. Okay, any more, or?
That's about it.
We're good? Okay, so Bailey, thank you very much for helping me do this. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you very much for tuning in. Share this with your friends. We're going to be posting once a week until everybody's back as usual, so please ask questions. Share this. We'll go to our YouTube channel if you like. It's just my name. You can type it in, and we'll have plenty of videos. But for all of you that are training at home, find a way to train. You don't have to be on the mat to improve, although we want to be on the mat. Study video, break them down, take good notes, make lists of techniques. And this is a really good thing to do if you want to see your mental tendencies, is break down all of the techniques and categories. Mount, mount, escape, crossbody, crossbody, escape, sweep from the bottom, guard, sweeps from the bottom, cross side, or reversals. And then you're going to start to see where there are discrepancies in your game. And then you can think, oh, I should probably watch something like that. But I guarantee this is going to happen. If you watch a lot of videos, take notes, train at home doing solo drills, ask questions, figure out how to isolate the techniques, I guarantee when you show up, you're not going to be as rusty as you think. So thank you for watching. Bailey, thank you again.
Thank you.
Mark Cukro.
Bailey Draper.
Take good care. We'll see you soon.